Hello, welcome to our chapter by chapter devotional through the entire Bible. In this series, I'm going over every chapter of the Bible, giving you a brief overview of what happens in that chapter and a little bit of life application for you to reflect upon. Today, we're in Genesis chapter 21. This chapter really emphasizes how God has blessed Abraham. Three particular blessings are focused upon. The first blessing that's focused upon is a huge one, and that is simply the birth of Isaac as promised. For those of you who've been following along, you know that God has promised Abraham and Sarah that they will have a child, even though they're both very elderly. At this point, Abraham is 100 years old. Sarah is 90 years old, and Sarah has been barren her entire life. So that's an impossible promise, one that they struggled to believe, and that Sarah even laughed and found completely incredulous in our previous chapter. But here we see that God fulfills his promises. That's the first blessing that God has done for Abraham, just as he has done for us. Well, with the birth of Isaac, Sarah, Abraham's wife, sees a potential threat in this other boy of Abraham's through the slave Hagar named Ishmael. So she responds to that threat this way. And it's a threat because normally the firstborn, the oldest, normally receive the inheritance and the blessings that had been promised. And the oldest was Ishmael, who was born through Hagar, not through Sarah. So Sarah sees this as a potential threat. And here's how she responds. Genesis 21, verses 10 through 13. So she said to Abraham, "Cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not be heir with my son Isaac." And the thing was very displeasing to Abraham on account of his son. So this upsets him, this depresses him. He loves his son, Ishmael, as well as Isaac. Verse 12 tells us an unexpected response. Verse 12 says, "But God said to Abraham, be not displeased because of the boy, and because of your slave woman. Whatever Sarah says to you, do as she tells you. For through Isaac shall your offspring be named, and I will make a nation of the son of the slave woman also, because he is your offspring." So here we see that God is working in a very bewildering, unexpected way. Ishmael will not be part of the covenant blessing of Abraham. But he also gives a promise to Abraham. He says, "I'm going to take care of your son. He will become a great nation," because that was Abraham's primary concern, that whenever Hagar and Ishmael are set off alone, that it's dangerous territory. They don't have somebody there to guard them, to keep them, that they won't survive. And so we here see blessing number 2, and that is the promise that God has a sovereign plan and care, even for all of our loved ones, even those loved ones who may not be believers, those who may be outside the covenant of God. God still has blessings, sovereignty, control, care for them. So Abraham again obeys in this very difficult area. He sends away Hagar. He sends away his young son Ishmael. It looks like they're in danger of perishing out in the arid, dry desert without any water. But God divinely intervenes. He shows them water. He protects, just as he promised this boy, and he raises him to become a great nation. And then we finally, at the end of the chapter, we see a third blessing. Abraham's living in a foreign land, and in a foreign land, he has a number of potential enemies who are powerful, who could disrupt his life, who could attack him, who could steal his belongings. One of those potential enemies is a king named Abimelech. But instead of this king taking advantage and abusing and oppressing Abraham, God lays it on the heart of Abimelech to make peace with Abraham. So they form a covenant together. They end up coming to an agreement. So that's the third blessing. So God is blessing Abraham throughout his life. He fulfills the promises of a divine son, or not divine son, but he fulfills the promise of a miracle son. He sovereignly cares for this loved one whom has been sent away, Ishmael, and he provides peaceful relationships with Abimelech. I wanted you to see all this so that you could take the time to reflect upon your blessings, the things that God has done in your life, how he's fulfilled promises in your life, how he's taken care of family members, even those who are outside and not in a right relationship with God, and how he's given you peaceful relationship with others. Just as Abraham is blessed, we're blessed even more. Hope you will reflect upon those things. Have a blessed day.